An E and an E, one high and one low, and four in between. An E sandwich.
Our first guitars were teeny, made like the craft of the month in Highlights magazine for children, where you took scissors to a shoebox, strung it with rubber bands.
Breaking news this Thursday night, the coronavirus now declared a global health emergency.
We're all in this together, and we can only stop it together.
Pretty good agreement that we are heading towards a pandemic.
Worst outbreaks right now are in Iran, where there are 95 officially confirmed cases, but experts believe many more are undetected or unreported, and in Italy, where at least 12 towns are under quarantine. There are more than 320 confirmed cases there and 11 deaths.
And as the market's reaction to the outbreak causes concern for many of us overseas, the situation there is already very serious. More countries in Europe have confirmed cases, most of those patients having traveled to Italy, where the number of confirmed cases there is now 322, with at least 10 people killed by the virus.
News. The first death from coronavirus here in the United States. A man in his 50s dying from COVID-19 infection in Washington state.
The virus has killed at least 9 people in this country. 126 cases are reported. That's across 16 states. That's all new today.
Because of all we've done, the risk to the American people remains very low. We have the greatest experts in the world.
The striking figures, the U.S. now leading the world in deaths, with the coronavirus claiming more than 20,000 American lives.
This was the day that, according to collective triparental belief, everything first went wrong.
Kat is on stage, surrounded by cigarette smoke and crowd steam, her eyes raked up at the low black ceiling. The smoke drifts into the shafts of light pouring from the Tinker Toy overhead rig, gives a shape to the air, makes visible the currents. You can see the way the heat from the crowd rises and then bends back on itself in ripples and swirls. For all the movement on the floor, from shoegazer swaying to maniac pogoing to grandmal mashing, the real action is above, where the air surges with color, candy apple red and freeze pop green, children at play yellow and police light blue.
Not that she ever looked at the crowd when she sang. The eyes of the other people distracted her. The way those eyes begged for an instant intimacy wasn't just an imposition, it was an affront. An assault, even. But she wasn't willing to share what she was feeling with anyone, not if sharing meant locking eyes with some other face out there in the dark and exchanging a smile or some acknowledgement that, hey, we're both in this moment together. Because that would have wrecked it. For her, I mean.
At first, everything has a hint of the ancient and the crumbling. On the way in, we pass an incredible number of cemeteries, littered haphazardly and crowded with old tombstones. Reminders of how long people have lived here, have walked these parts and died in these parts. It is quiet. The living people appear to move slower. The humidity has followed us here and has been amplified. It weighs everything down.
At night, Jay falls promptly asleep, naked and sticky with sweat. I am awake, staring at the ceiling, telling myself what's done is done, is done, is done. But the wet heat is unbearable. I get up and go into the kitchen, turn on all the lights. I open the refrigerator and freezer doors, then lean into the cold. With my phone propped against a box of frozen corn dogs, I swipe through people's former lives until I am shivering, until I have forgotten where I am.
But you know, Cragmont was actually a lovely place. You can always spot a Eureka Day kid because at soccer games, they're the ones who cheer when the other team scores.
We come up with the idea for a make-believe blog called That's So Ithaca. So far, dentist offices and houses, how people talk about Wegmans, the grocery store on steroids, as though it is a theme park. A man in a tall hat and cape asking if we want to see some magic. A sedan entirely covered in green Ithaca's gorgeous in Ithaca, New York. 10 square miles surrounded by reality stickers.
What do you miss? I'm at the farmer's market right now, and there's so much I miss about life in Ithaca right now, but one of the things that's so difficult is that spring is this marvelous awakening, a change from the frozen winter to blossoms and hints of warm as we reemerge from our winter cocoons. And even going to the farmer's market feels still cocooned, and as though I can only look at people in the eye and not really say hello, not embrace the people that I would normally see there. And it's very difficult. So much of this time is difficult, but I find that in particular to be very hard.
I think the thing I miss most about Ithaca and life before quarantine is just going to class and seeing my friends and my professors, because they're all really dear to me and I miss seeing them. So I hope I get to see them again in the fall.
I miss dancing the night away at salsa night with some of my best friends.
I miss going on adventures with my friends.
The thing that I miss most about not being at Ithaca right now is community. I miss fellowship. I miss going outside of my dorm, smelling the fresh air, sometimes seeing the beautiful snow, sometimes seeing the leaves falling off the trees, but always feeling a sense of happiness in being surrounded by the beauty of the campus and the people that I meet.
What I miss about Ithaca, I think the most, is how clean the air feels. And when I say that, I mean not only breathing it in, because it's amazing and fresh and clean and bright, but the world doesn't feel so heavy when I'm there. It's like it exists in this bubble where only learning and writing and talking matters, and the world doesn't have a say in it as much as it does elsewhere. Oh, and I miss purity too.
One thing I miss a lot about Ithaca is working at the Tompkins County Public Library, and every day after work, heading over to Autumn Leaves, Angry Mom Record Store, and just kind of seeing what's there, kind of seeing what they have, reading books, listening to some records. I miss that more than I thought I could miss being in a store.
The thing I miss most about Ithaca is being able to hang out with my friends in person, but even though we don't have the contact right now, it doesn't mean that we don't have the connection. I've attended 2 of my friends' birthday parties over Zoom, and I look forward to many more.
Even now, the Grey children had the habit of counting their years backwards, searching for a time when they'd been happy and the world turned the way it ought. Determining the moment wouldn't make them happy again, they knew that, but at least then they'd know who to blame. The Greys were scientific about their misery.
You will never see your family or friends again. Discuss. The brush of another person is more gravity than I can stand. Like a lantern's metal and paper, if you touch me, I may collapse. I have sworn off skin to skin, and not just during Lent. Inside a bubble, I prefer to drift at arm's length.
This was the summer people came to the landing to forget their jobs, forget climate change, forget police brutality, forget opioids, forget refugees, forget their inboxes, forget white supremacists, forget tsunamis out of season, and forget anyone who took it upon themselves to remind them of these things.
But every human body is a disaster. The fallout from old stars. My brain is just a tangle of wire, electricity clusters. My hair is recessive, rubble, all redshift and helium.
To think I once imagined space as the smooth texture of coins or zeros, and never as that deep sap that traps and always keeps. Never as our own atoms suspended in this colloid inside the dark, these stars we circle and misread.
And all those years we pictured a fire, a neon sign blinking, vacancy, a world as red as that inside our bodies but without the claustrophobia, the low ceilings of our skin.
And by now I know, as you must, what it means to lose your lakes and oceans, to creak inside the riverbed, cross its sockets and arthritic elbows, to think of rain as a form, a tome of bygone remedies.
I can only dream now what the snow must do for the desert.
Wait, do you remember the first time you put that record on? Maybe it was a CD or a tape.
When the evenings at the mill ended, we retreated to our solitary worlds. Alone, we would navigate our individual scenes, the workshop, the theater, the foxhead. We endured the process and our souls adapted. It had been wired into our minds as a means of surviving the world around us.
At home, I sunk into the covers of my bed, my thoughts atmospheric from the drinks I had consumed in the last hours of the bar. My computer sat on a white wooden desktop, static and cold. I thought of the book that lay within it, thousands of words and ideas that had yet to cohere into a vision that could be shared or considered by anyone else but me.
It was wholly unclear how long the process would take, but for those last moments of the night, I was at peace with the uncertainty.
We go. I can't keep up with the group. Gypsy, you stay right behind me. Everything will be all right. I try to make small talk. Because other talk brings me out, you have to stay in. Drink your water. Follow me. Dissolve your super hydration tablet. Drink your water. Push on. Tell your body you are fine. You are fine.
Humanize yourselves. Classify the norm of who you're talking to. Try to echo it. Do this for your country, says one soldier. We are sharks wearing the suits of skin. Zip up. This spring, barely blooming city, Zoma says enough of this emptied word, empathy. Ask for more. For rage. For love.
Thank you.